So I'd now like to introduce our second speaker, who is from the Buddhist faith. He's Venerable Ajahn Sujan, a Buddhist monk from Nepal. He's the founder and abbot of the Varapunya Meditation Centre in Aberdeen, a committee member of the Aberdeen Interfaith Group, and also an author of a book, Your Questions, My Answers, on Buddhism and his experience of life as a Buddhist monk. So we're very delighted to have you here with us this evening, Sujan, and interested to hear what you have to say on the topic of kingship from a Buddhist perspective.
Okay, so good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for giving this opportunity to share on the subject of a kingship. So first of all, would like to thank you, Interfaith Scotland, to have this dialogue organized, inviting all our members and publics to come and discuss on the kingship in this modern time. So when I look at the term kingship, I was a bit scared to talk and even think about it. What does it mean by kingship and where does it leading to? And as a Buddhist monk, which is very different to a Buddhist, as a Buddhist monk, we are forbidden to speak on politics and forget about the king. But however, on this occasion, as we are in the modern age, give me some courage to speak, and I hope that nothing will happen to me. So it's a high stake. As a Buddhist monk, we are supposed not to talk about the politics at all. And nevertheless, so when we talk about the kingship, it can lead to both for and against. And particularly at this time of there's so much going on, when we talk about the kingship, people will be questioning about whether you like it or whether dislike. And as a result, I was a little bit puzzled with it. And then I also discussed and asked this question with so many people. What do they think about it? It's like having a survey before I'm giving a talk. And it appears that different people have got different ideas on a kingship. And the subject of the kingship, it appears that I felt like I was given one suggestion that why not I start with my own personal journey with the kings and the kingship. So, as you are aware that I was born in Nepal. And where during that, now we don't have a king at all, but during the time when the king Birendra was on the throne. And I found that during his kingship, the country was more stable than now with the Republican state. And it's still quarreling and debating and dragging to the powerful seat, the prime minister, and going on. And never stable. So during the kingship, the King Birendra, people were more stable and peaceful compared to now. And as the example we have, that since the evolution of the kingship, Nepal is suffering from a party politics for over a decade and still very unstable. People are still suffering. And political parties are still fighting one another for the top seat, and which is quite sad. And similarly, take to the Thailand. I became a monk in Nepal and went to Thailand to study. And as we all know, that Thailand is more predominantly Kingdom of Thailand. So I stayed in Thailand for almost 10 years, and there have been so many times that the party politics crisis over and over. Nevertheless, because of the presence of the king, always there was some sort of stability and somewhere to feel safe for the people. And that's how people become so, kind of homage to the king and feeling that there is the king that always we can rely on. Now, same thing with me traveling to the UK, and I came in the UK 2005, and I found very peaceful and stable compared to so many other countries. And that's the reason why I would say people travel for different reasons and different ways, want to be in the country here. So at that time, I felt very peace and connected. And we all know that although at that time, or even now, the queen or the king do not have any political power, but always feel this. They were standing there, and they are standing there as the head of a state, an example for so many people. And that is the reason, in 2011, we had this Platinum Jubilee celebration, and that was in Aberdeen, with inviting interfaith people, representatives coming and then organizing it. And similarly, and I felt that this is in 2012, that was 2012, and then 2022, in collaboration with the Aberdeen Interfaith, we organized Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebration on the 5th of June 2022, and we had 2 boys ordained to make a merit and dedicate to the king and the queen at that time. And also that was a timely celebration. Within 3 months later, she passed away in the Balmoral. And then I felt like, as a citizen under which I'm living, it's our obligation or a duty that I should go and do the prayer. So I personally, along with another monk, went up to the Balmoral Castle and did the chanting there. So, and also on behalf of Interfaith Aberdeen and Buddhist community from Aberdeen, sent a card, a condolence card to the king, and which King kindly replied, which was quite a nice gesture from the king, like, oh yeah, I got the card from the king, kind of. So that was my personal journey, that how I came and then how I relate to the king. And also from the Buddhist perspective, it is that we are obliged, or a duty, to pay respect to the head of the state. And now, from the Buddhist perspective, if we are looking from the Buddhist perspective, as we all know that Buddhism began with the enlightenment of the Buddha. Now, the Buddha was born in Nepal 2,600 years ago, and we all know that he was the prince himself. He was the son of the king. And despite of being a prince, he left his palace life at the age of 29 and spent 6 years studying and practicing and become the Buddha at the age of 35. And now after that, he spent 45 years teaching his teachings to different people, from beggars to the businessmen, from intellectual to the religious leaders, and from a political representatives to the many kings. And the kings and the Buddha had so much a good relationship, and always guiding kings to be a righteous king. Now, when I was reflecting on that, I would say that the Buddha was would be the only person or religious leader who came from a royal family, but given up all his luxurious life and his power to be the king, and in search for the peace and freedom. And that freedom not only for himself, but for all the humanity. And not only the human beings, but also all the celestial beings. Now, looking at from the scripture, it comes that one of the discourses is called Aganya Sutta in the Digha Nikaya, the long discourses, the sutta number 27. And this sutra is what comes first. And it suggests that it was at the beginning, people didn't have to collect the food. It was provided there, and you just need to go and take and eat it at that time. But it happened that because somebody wanted to save the time rather than going out there, they collected a little bit more and keep it. And with that, keeping the food began the creating of the boundaries and separation of the land. And with that, what happened is that later they invade the other lands and invade the other crops and taking those. So stealing began, lying began. And with that, quarrel began. And as a result of that, the whole community began to search for somebody to represent and define that what is right, what is wrong, which one belongs to who. And that's how king or kingship began in Buddhism. And that's how the kingship is a leader who was chosen to protect the assets of the community. And with that, what happened that, as Francis already said, with that, power corrupts the people. And with that, in Buddhism, what happened is that there are three ways of a governance. One is the authority of oneself, that I am the powerful one, so I govern everything and it should belongs to me. And another one is called the authority of commons. So thinking of other people and other people's view, he is ruling, and as a result, country becomes weak. And the third one is authority of the Dhamma, and that governing from the principles. And the principles that the Buddha gave, there are 10 principles that starts from the charity, the high moral character, self-sacrifice, honesty, kindness, self-control, and most importantly, no anger, no violence, and be more patient. And there is no opposition at all. So these are the 10 dharmas that we call the 10 virtues of the rulers that one has to have in order to be a righteous king. Now the question now becomes the King Charles III. Whose king is he now in the modern era? There's so many diverse views about it. Some say he's not the king, he's not our king, and some say he's the king. So from the Buddhist perspective, when we look at the King Charles or any kings, it's very important to have one figurehead who is stable and always keeping a continuity. With the continuity and the stability of the state, of the figurehead, it's like having a good father who is stable and able to lead and guide everybody. So like political parties, they're always changing, and they're looking from the political party's perspective rather than looking from the whole the whole country as a whole. So in a sense that having a king is somebody like overseeing the entire the land or entire nation, and as a result of that, we can feel the stability and a stable country. So with that, we even ourselves feel peaceful, and we even ourselves feel that we can go further. With that, stability brings prosperity and happiness. And as a result of that, when you look at the King Charles, all those charitable works and the contribution to the country, and his vow on the day when he was enthroned, he said that serving the people of the United Kingdom. And also he said that that it's so grateful to have all the people supporting him to be the king and ruling or looking after the entire nation. So that's why it's up to individuals' view on how you look at it. But from my personal perspective, I would say that the king normally is chosen to protect And now his job is to protect, whereas the political parties changes people after people, which makes more unstable, and that leads to the chaos and the disruption. So I think I end here with this. Thank you.